They throwing beans on him. So I'm having this problem with Proxmox with my media server. It's kind of weird. Uh, it's kind of weird because I one of my VMs is using an insane amount of RAM, like almost all of it, and I haven't figured out why. And I have like swap RAM installed. Like I have swap RAM set up, and it is like no matter how much I increase it, it's like eating through it. But all my other VMs are fine, and now I'm running into an issue. Maybe I needed, like, it goes through RAM, it, like, eats it. Maybe I kind of figured it out. Maybe it was a glitch. Maybe I wasn't using enough RAM, but I'm gonna monitor it. And I have swaps set up. That's the crazy part. And I'm trying to get. I'm using only like 25 gigs of my 89.6 gigs of RAM, but it eats it. I'm gonna try doing a backup now, because I think that's been causing a lot of issues. So I have a lot of issues. I'm getting something called an Watchdog. Watching this on CubeOS performance is reasonable for no hardware acceleration. The way audio seamlessly works is incredible. Yeah, it's very cool. And the cool thing is, if you have a microphone plugged in, you can plug in a microphone in CubeOS through like the USB port, and it will isolate it. You can isolate every process down to the webcam in a laptop. If you have a webcam installed, the better option would actually be to put it through the USB stack and then have it isolated in its own virtual machine as well. This is what's really cool about it. Unfortunately, my Unfortunately, my screen isn't going to be here. It got a customs issue saying the paperwork was wrong or something, so it's going to be delayed probably till tomorrow, if not worse, Monday or Tuesday, and then I'll set up a way to do it. I can see the webcam is in a sys USB cube. Yes, you can see it, but you can also reject it from having any network access, and you can reject it from being used at all times. You don't even have to. So like if it ever got exploited, it would be in its own like virtual cube environment. But you can even remove your webcam directly from your device and use a separate external one, which would further isolate it as well, because it's not always running, which is based in theory. So I'm going to run a massive fat backup. I think I figured out that it was a RAM issue with my virtual machine. I was only using, I'm at like 16 gigs right now. 16 gigs of almost 16 gigs of RAM for one virtual machine, which is kind of thick. but I'm doing a backup of about 600 gigs. The first backup with the Proxmox backup server is like a full backup, and then it does micro backup. So it makes me nervous, especially 25 gig networking. Well, 10 gig networking is pretty based. Nesting persistent tails VM on top of SecureFlow VM to post schizoid memes on FedHoney Discord, as you should. Thank you, appreciate it. Code, as you should do. Nested everything. Virtualize everything, really, to be honest. Virtualization is based. But backing up my virtual machines makes me nervous because they've been one has been failing, which is mainly my media server. I just don't like resetting this shit up. I ran into an IO input issue. I thought it was one of my NVE drives failing, honestly. But I did a smart detection test and came to the conclusion it's not the detection. It's not actually the NVE drive, because my other virtual machines on the NVE drive would be also affected by it. So I think it was just a lack of RAM, and it was throwing this weird I/O output. I wish I could find it because I deleted it and redid the entire machine. I redid the machine all over, and everywhere I checked on the internet said that it was most likely an IOMU, like something to do with like an SSD fail, but I'm not entirely sure. Oh yeah, it was an input-output error. In Bash typically occurs. It was an input-output error with Proxmox, and I never figured out what it was. Everything pointed that it was a hardware failure, but it actually doesn't make sense that was even the conclusion. I like that you need to authenticate a USB device before it can get connected. Correct. And there's actually something even cooler you can set up called Split PGP. So we could look at that real quick. It's quite interesting. We're just going to go into Tor, Dark Web, and Code. You were asking how you could find onion links. Sam Bent's website, darkwebdaily.live, also has an onion. We'll just do that later. Onion link as well, which is based. You do need JavaScript installed, I believe, if I'm not correct, if I remember correctly. But there is a CubesOS. You can actually go on CubesOS. You can go on CubesOS via Tor. But there's something really cool that I really like called Split PGP. So Split PGP in CubesOS is something that people maybe don't use or don't forget, or they forget, whatever. But getting I2P to work in CubesOS is a nightmare, so just to let you know, it is, if you think about using it, it's not fun. So Split PGP does a really cool thing. This was a bitch to set up. Yeah, in the Unix DVMV, it was telling me that CubesOS has an onion service, very based. Yeah, very based is true. So Split PGP is very cool. So you have a work email, and then you have your PGP keys. Now, your private PGP keys are one of the most secure parts that you need to keep very private, very secure, and locked down. Because if someone has your private key, it can decrypt everything. Obviously, hence the name private, why you want to keep it private. So the advantages of it is often thought that the use of smart cards for private key storage guarantees ultimate safety. While this might be true, unless the attacker can find a usually very expensive and requiring physical presence way to extract the key from the smart card, but only with regards of the safety of the private key itself. However, there is usually nothing that could stop the attacker from requesting the smart card to perform a decryption of all the user's documents and the attack has found or need to decrypt. In other words, while protecting the user's private key is an important task, we should not forget ultimately it's the user's data there that need to be protected, and the smart card chip has no way of knowing the request to decrypt. The documents are now coming from the attacker's script and not from the user sitting in front of the monitor. Similarly, the smart card doesn't make the process of digitally signing the document or transaction any way more secure. The user cannot know that the chip is really signing. Unfortunately, this problem of signing reliability is not solved by split PGP. With Cube's split PGP, the problem is drastically minimized because each time the key needs to be used, the user is asked for consent with a definable timeout, 5 minutes by default, plus always notifies each time the key is used via tray notifications from the domain where the PGP backend is running. So essentially, you have to allow, in order to sign something with your private key, and also not only sign, but encrypt things, you can do it in two separate machines where your PGP key is stored in a work PGP. This is offline. Your user PGP keys, user bin GPG, Cube's GPG server offline, and then your work email online. It's pretty much doing it. The Cube's GGP client pretends to be a standard user bin GPG to other apps. So it's a way that it separates it and makes it more secure. Now the documentation kind of fucked me up. The only way I figured out how for this to work is going into the Cube's. First off, I didn't RTFM. I didn't read the fucking manual that well. And I also didn't thoroughly read through it. So this is something you have to thoroughly read through and to understand. It's kind of awesome to set it up with Thunderbird. So you can, when you pretty much do it, you essentially will get a lot of errors because you have to accept something via, you have to kind of like accept something for it to make it to work in its own domain, and you have to kind of do some extra steps to make it work. But the security benefits is the standard split PGP setup. There are at least two ways to do it. Work PGP, a VM might be compromised. First, the attacker is capable of exploiting hypothetical bug in work emails. You essentially want to create these in two different virtual machines, one without internet, one with internet. Where is it? You pretty much set it up. It will request to the virtual machine to sign it and use your external PGP key, and then all of it's done in a separate machine. It's kind of, once you set it up, you're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, right here. Do you allow VM to access your PGP keys now in the following seconds? So for 5 minutes, it will be able to access these PGP keys to do your signing, your encrypting, your decrypting, etc., and boom, it's done. Once that time is out, once it's past the 5 minutes, it will end. Is the easiest way to explain it. Again, CubeZOS documentation is good. This is where it was kind of annoying, and then there's something called CTAP proxy, which needs better documentation. I never got to work. It might be a skill issue, but CTAP proxy is even more secure. If you really want to lock down your system, you can even set up CubeZOS to need a FIDO key installed in order to boot or something like that, I believe. There's like a way to set it up for PAM. You know how some people use PAM authentication with a password? You can use it with, I believe, CTAP proxy. A long time ago, I set up a server, a Pi server, in order for anyone to log in via SSH, they needed a 2FA code. In order to install it, they needed a 2FA code from my authentication key, which was a nightmare because, long story short, I lost that key, and I had to like nuke that thing anyways. So the CTAP proxy, pretty much the Cube's approach. In a conventional setup, web browsers and the USB stack to which the authenticator is connected are all running on the same monolithic OS. It's not good. Since CTAP is a model assumes that the browser is trustworthy, any browser in the OS is able to access the keys stored on the authenticator. The user has no way to know which keys have been accessed by which browsers for which service. And if any of the other browsers are compromised, it's assumed that all of the tokens keys have been compromised. This problem can be mitigated, however, if the CTAP device has a display to show the Windows users being authenticated. Moreover, since the USB stack is in the same monolithic OS, the system is vulnerable to the bad attacks like bad USB, etc. How pretty much CubeZOS, by contrast, it is possible to securely compartmentalize the browser in one cube and the USB stack in another cube, so that they are always kept separate from each other. The cube's CTAP proxy allows this token to connect the USB stack in one cube to communicate with the browser, essentially in a separate cube. We operate under the assumption that USB stack is untrusted from the point of view of the browser, so that also the browser is not to be trusted blindly by the token. Therefore, the token is never in the same cubes as the browser. It separates it. It's kind of like this, like browser. You have to register pretty much your key, and then this is USB. So CTAP, HID token, backend, and then personal. So these have to go through kind of like their own channel. Think of it like, how do I allow USB devices if it has no propped up any request? How do I allow a USB device if it has not popped up a request? I think you have to open, like, are you trying to connect something and make it allowed? You have to connect. So I'm not on cubes right now, but there's a section on the side. You have to go to it, click on it, and it should have an allow button. It should be in the display system tray that it's sitting there, not doing anything. It's like there's no internet access. It's just not doing anything. It should be in the corner under your system tray. Like when you plug in a USB, it doesn't auto accept. Nothing auto accepts. It's one of the options you have when you first set up Qubes OS. So because it doesn't auto accept, which is a good thing, you have to manually do it. I don't think mine. Sometimes my stuff didn't show up through notifications in the system tray. So all I did was essentially just open up and then see it and then allow it, or you have to attach it. You pretty much attach it to the cube, and that allows it. If that makes sense. If nothing's popped up, just go in. It should be there. If it's not showing up, then it could be, that could be a million other reasons. A driver issue, XYZ, depending on what you're trying to attach. Which is the default configuration. So when I tried setting this up, it was not letting me get it to work, but when my screen comes in and I get Qubes OS working on a normal resolution screen, I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check it out. But you can set up a split Bitcoin in Qubes OS. You can set. There's so many. Qubes OS documentation is deep. It's like a very deep. There's a lot to learn. It's a lot. I mean it. Developers debugging how to set up a test bench, how to pretty much, you can even develop for Qubes, like you can develop for Qubes OS, like you can develop inside there. They're really big in the open source world. So for the system requirements too, interesting is recommended is 16 gigs, but the minimum, by the way, is 6 gigs. And I mean this. You can definitely install Qubes OS on 6 gigs of RAM. It's very usable with 6 gigs. I did it with 6 gigs of RAM. Billy's has 7 gigs, and he can still use it. Qubes, I feel like it knows how to manage RAM properly, and I think people focus way too much on it. They also focus. I really, 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 really hate when YouTubers that use like Linux Mint or fucking the most basic fucking Linux distro, and they're like, Qubes is too advanced. Suck my balls. It is not. It's just using Linux. You're just compartmentalizing everything, and that's it. Zorin OS. Yeah, they'll use fucking Zorin OS, and they'll be like, Qubes is too advanced, guys. Eat my ass. There are so many things that Linux users don't even get on regular Linux desktops. The argument is like, I need to edit my videos in Adobe. Well, you can't fucking do that on up until like now Winboat and like all these ways to emulate and wrap stuff around and make it work. You couldn't do that before anyways, so it doesn't even fucking matter. Sir, I can't game on Cubes OS. Well, no shit. We all know this. I mean, this you actually can game on Cubes OS. It's possible. There are experimentation gaming HVMs that are out there that incorporate ways to make gaming okay-ish, but it's not the main priority right now. Security is the main priority in Cubes OS, and in reality, you can't like gaming. Most games today have so much access and so much deep access into the system that it's not possible to know if a game is secure or not or running securely. I mean, games literally are at this point getting root level access to function, or they use Vanguard, which requires, I think if I remember correctly, root level access. So you're essentially compromise your system in order to make essentially a game to work because of how much access it needs. So it's just not possible. But it is getting there. I mean, from what I understand, if you can, I think there's the ability to attach a external GPU to make it work. But I've never tested this. I've never tested with not a virtual GPU, an external GPU to do GP3 pass-through. I believe that is possible because for the people that want to do screen capturing, you can actually get capture cards and you can capture like the screen of Cubes OS in like there's ways to do it. It's just a lot of work. That's a lot of work. But again, you should never be using Cubes OS to essentially to game. You should be using it for a different purpose. And a solid state drive. Integrated graphics processors are right now the highest. Like getting a really nice high-end integrated graphics processor is probably the best. I have an ARC GPU, Intel GPU, so I'm not entirely sure. And ADM GPUs have not been formally tested, but Radeon, especially the 580 and earlier, generally work well. And a trusted platform module with proper BIOS support required for anti-evilmate attack, which is kind of like an esoteric thing for people who maybe have a lower threat model shouldn't care about. Based core boot, but if you want to get Cube certified hardware, they're always updating it. It definitely exists. Nova Custom, that's what I have. This is the one I have. I have the V54 series. Nitro, dude, the Nitro, I don't know why these fuckers are using the V in front of everything. But Nitro pads are fucking expensive. I thought Nova Custom was expensive. I did spend a little bit of money on it. But this is with 8 gigs of RAM, and it's $1,600. If you want 64, you're at $2,400. That's a lot. I mean, it's cool that it has Dasher and heads with measured boot, but you can get Dasher with Tino Core without measured boot if you want. I would never have someone else install Cubes OS. I would install it myself. But damn, man. Cubes OS denied my MK keyboard input request without putting that automatic request, but it put the automatic request for the mouse. Because your keyboard is the most insecure option. By the way, MK295 mouse and keyboard in 1 nano receiver. Huh. Oh, where they're connected. Bluetooth insecure? Why not wired? I heard about Insurgo too. But these motherfuckers just use like ThinkPads, I believe, like just expensive ThinkPads. 3M Deb. I forgot about these people. This is pretty based. And then who's the other one? I actually deeply considered these people. Nano Receiver is a Logitech's AEC2 encrypted wireless peripheral connector. Are you sure it's AES 256 encrypted? Can you trust Logitech? They are proprietary. These are pretty based. I would love at some point, if this wasn't so expensive. Motherfucker, what is that? Is that the Klon? Oh. Americas? There we go. I believe this is like $800. Yeah, $800. I don't know if I can trust Logitech. Yeah, think about that next time they put the word 256 encrypt, AES 256 encryption. Oh, nice. Yo, you can put Cubes OS on this? No way. Isn't this a tablet? Alright, $101. Oh, keyboard. That KR was most likely Norwegian kroner. Wow, very knowledged. Very knowledged on $30. Oh, I guess 2-pack. That's alright. $15 each. 16 gigs of DDR5 memory. Okay. Wow, you can put Cubes OS on a tablet. It's kind of based. I wonder if you could put Gen 2 on this. Updates are available for my Dom Zero. Yo, you get a lot, dude. There's a lot of updates always. I mean, I remember the biggest pain is when you run out of the Fedora. Like, say Fedora's on XFCE 45 and you're on 44. It's kind of annoying to switch all it to 45. You have to there's a good documentation on how to do it. You can also install Gen 2. Should I update after stream? No, just do it live. That's the good thing about Linux. I'm not gonna lie, man. I can't wait till Linux tablets become a real thing. I mean, like, these are cool. Their price is a little bit insane, but whatever. What is the difference between sysfirewall and sysnet? Sysfirewall is all your routing, like all your policies on firewall policies. So like if you want certain cubes to only interact with each other, you make firewall rules. Sysnet is to give you internet access, yes or no. Say you have like a work email and like a browser where you watch big mommymilkers.com and you want them to never interact with each other, you can create a firewall rule to allow no directional connection to each other. Man, why are these motherfuckers $1,000? You'd have to watch that website on a Unix DVM, disposable VM. True. But they can still be forensically investigated. Yo, thank you. No scripting excess warning. This is not a gadget, but an operating system. Ubuntu Touch, Pine Tab 2, based. I wanted the Pine Note, but it's like $400. And Pine 64 has kind of a damn $1,000 though. They can still be not only forensically investigated, but it's not disposable. It's kind of cool though. No tourist site though. Still, wow. Graphene OS is building a text-to-speech system. Wow. I wish when Twitter would have an onion like, we built our own text-to-speech system with initial English language models, trained ourselves with fully open source data. It will be added to our app store soon and then included as default enabled text-to-speech backends once some more improvements are made to it. Nice. Based, actually. Okay. Why does it show? I hate how Twitter shows everything out of fucking whack. So, very lame. Using RCS with Google Messages on Graphene. Certain iPhones can now limit cell tower ability to trialing. I decided to try Cape Wireless. How can I configure a cube to use a specific DNS server? It's DNS configuration assist firewall. Yeah, I believe so. Or you have to. I think you have to go to the cube itself. You do have to configure it in your firewall, and you have to go to the cube itself, and you have to remember that DNS leaks can happen if you don't do it correctly. First of all, I did search and never found an actual review of setting up the service, so I apologize if someone else was able to set up Wi-Fi. Easy. Wi-Fi calling texting is working just fine. Coming from Google Fi, I needed a Google Play service for these features was nice in addition to my situation. Wasn't able to take advantage of that Pro10 sub discount since I already have them as a paid user. The only cringe factor is I found that the price of 99 months sucks. However, it's for my business phone, so I'll be writing off my taxes at the end of the year. Via itemized, their app did not need Play services and walked me through the setting up the service at some download. I can answer. How's the service far as reliable fast? Any issues with connections? It's on a Crescent Play Store. It's required for notifications, but it works best. Best say data is definitely slower but usable. Meaning phone calls won't ring without Google services. He mostly probably talking to Cape's app notifications. I know probably at all. Wi-Fi calling and texting work fine. Interesting. I don't think their 99-month price tag is worth the service when we have alternatives, but yeah, good to have an option. Correct. Unfortunate, but RCS doesn't work. Cape has no real competitors. Whether you're not willing to pay for the advantages offers is a different question. You can sign up for Cape using a Visa gift card bought with cash, gas station number. You can gain SIM swap protection and SS7 tag protection along with data not being sold and generally very pricey. Virtually anonymous system doesn't guarantee complete anonymity. If you use the contact friends or family, okay. I believe the primary use becomes a brand with high profile uses numbers can easily be found online. Yeah, I don't really think. Oh, you don't need to restart DOM0 to apply updates? Nope. The other cubes need to be restarted upon update for me. Yes. It seems kind of interesting. I did see the point of CAPE. The biggest claim seems to be getting millions of dollars from venture capital companies. Thanks, TechCrunch. The thing is, like, you could just buy prepaid SIM and be fine. The SIM swap protection, cool, but I think most of the services are starting to include that. It's just not. I don't know. I just don't see it worth it. $100 a month is crazy. And I believe this person is right. They can track your location based on the IMEI with the physical network that sells data to Traffic Association, but that's not CAPE doing that. That's the network operators that own the run the two is. Only 3 exist in the U.S. with U.S. Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. That's identical what every regional carrier does. They pay one of the 3 owners for the infrastructure, the bulk network use, and resell to end users. Yep. A random post-paid contract from any regional carrier is functionally identical to the services of CAPE, except it costs 2x for CAPE, and they brand it as private. Googlefy isn't much different to a regional carrier, except that they have one of the tech monopolies behind and can force routing near infrastructure level traffic through servers they maintain as well. So they do manage to grab even more network level data collection while still exposing you to all the unavailable data collection. Be right back. Gotta get water, as you should. Water's good. I do think that the best option when it comes to a private network is to treat all networks in general, not privately. Like, all networks are hostile. All networks will sell your data if there is data available, and no network should be trusted. You should, really reject the idea that these companies aren't selling your data. Now, let's say, I remember someone in the Discord server, they got very irated because I was calling out their bullshit about Cape Wireless, thinking that, it's a third-party service. Now you're trusting a third-party service, and the only thing they brought up was, they built their core system very secure and blah, 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 cock gobbling, gobble, 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 gobble. And at the end of it, I think the problem is if they use Stripe, you are now handing your payment information to another data collector. If they're using AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile's backend, who's to say that they can't correlate your IMEI or your IMSI to you, especially if you purchased a phone via them, XYZ. And at the end of the day, it's the law. Like, the law, pretty much could just say, hey, I'm not saying because you're doing anything illegal, but if you exercise any of your rights and the government doesn't like it, they can just go to XYZ company and be like, give us this person's information or we'll shut you down. So that's something to always think about. It's not about if you're doing anything illegal, it's about if your state doesn't like what you do. And that could be fundamentally a different point of view for everyone at different points of periods of times of their life. So I think that these companies that label themselves private, like them and Frilly and all this, are nice. Based water. The problems with these companies is they're trying to sell you on the idea that they are private, when I think that they are no more private than any other prepaid service that you can get in the United States. In the United States, I do not need to present my ID in order to pretty much get any of this. So I think at best they're doing a hat trick that costs 3x the amount than you can get through XYZ. Now, I do think Silent Link is nice because it's a global roaming type of SIM card. So if you travel a lot and you want a private way in order to obtain a SIM card that just kind of works everywhere, there's really no there's really no point in not using them because it's data that doesn't expire. You just have to renew it once a year. It's $100, and if you don't use a lot of data, it's kind of like the perfect solution for having data anywhere in the world. Versus if you don't travel, then there's no point in Silent Link. I think that it's kind of like then kind of silly. If you connect a USB device before turning on a Qubes OS computer, then it will get automatically authenticated like mice and keyboards. Then will it get audited? I don't think so. I wouldn't be able to test that unless it was right in front of me. I don't remember because on my laptop I just had a keyboard and mouse built like the trackpad. I don't use a separate keyboard. I don't use a separate mouse. The trackpad's fine enough. Plus, I don't want to be that guy. But I would assume no, because if it does, Qubes OS in the beginning, when you set it up, has a option where it says accept USB input. Accept USB input. If you don't check that, I think it doesn't pre-authenticate anything for security reasons. Yeah, you should treat Qubes OS treating everything as if it's untrustworthy, as you should in general. But in perspective of getting actually an anonymous number, it's not really about what you use. It's about where you use it. Now, I think one of the best things you can do is I would consider the best defense you have to data collection is poisoning the well. You want to spread as much misinformation about you, who you are, and your identity online so that it doesn't really correlate back to you. You can make up jobs. You can make up what you do as a career. You can make up numbers. You can make up things you do. You can create a whole fake-ass identity as you should. And I think poisoning the well as much as possible is kind of the best approach. And then manually deleting stuff that is true, or is true, keeping it out there to mix with the stuff that isn't true. You could even go as far as, it's kind of funny, when you deliver stuff to your house, like from like Amazon or eBay or whatever, use fake names. Who cares? Because it's going to get recorded. Someone's going to buy it maybe, and it's going to come up like, Tom, Dick, Harry lives at 123 Big Balls Lane. And no one's gonna care. Like it's like shifting through this. Now, obviously, live bidding is kind of a problem, and it is an issue that needs to be corrected because I actually just learned how it kind of worked. It's kind of insane. So when advertisers are advertising on the internet, they actually do this really crazy thing where they will go into a bid with other people. For this ad spot. This is why when you go on websites, ads can change. And this is like post, I think, 2013 problem when it was like contextual-based ads to behavioral-based ads. Now they bid. They actually get the data too. Even if they don't win the bid. It happens all the time. And some developers don't even know. Some do, some don't. But, so when they do this live bidding, sometimes all the brokers get all the information. You can set the keyboard to always ask in the global config. So now you can set stuff to be pre-authenticated, and of course, like global configuration is always going to be give you an option in order to accept things ahead of time. Of course, yeah. I mean, I'm just saying, like from purely a Cube standpoint, when you plug stuff in, I don't auto accept anything. I just go in there and manually do it because I want it to be a habit in order for me to not get comfortable with stuff. Now, one of the hardest things with Qubes is understanding the keyboard to copy stuff. Now, if you have two virtual machines in scope, so like say these are two virtual machines. This is the thing that because I used Qubes OS so much over a period of like maybe a year or so, I got so used to copying something. So like say we have something here, I would have to control shift copy. It's an extra step. So it's copy, and then you have to paste it to the the clipboard, the sandboxed virtual clipboard, you paste it there, and then you have to go in scope in the same screen. You have to go to the other virtual machine and then Control Shift Z to copy it from the clipboard, the global clipboard, and then copy it to the other virtual machine. It's like a 3-step process. It's still cool. It's just a 3-step process. And you get used to it. It's kind of like the most confusing part. But CubesOS's approach is, well, the clipboard can be compromised. You don't want that. And if you get it compromised, if it becomes the shortcut thing in global settings clipboard, yeah. The shortcut thing is in global settings, yeah. You can change the way. I got used to how I did it with the clipboard. I just did whatever the default was. You can always change shortcuts. But I liked it. It was simple. And it prevented me from making mistakes from copying stuff, if that makes sense. You can change a lot of things about cubes. It's just the default worked for me. It was kind of like the easiest form to use. I'm gonna get some water, guys. Control Shift CV. Suckless. Interesting. Wow, base. Actually, the cool thing, and a misconception that I came across, not really Cubes related, but Graphene OS related. So I thought with Graphene OS, you had to install Google Play services to be able to install private spaces. You don't. So you can actually install private spaces with the Google Play service and not install it on the main profile, which is pretty based. It was an interesting discovery. That is funny. Discord app won't run on Tails, but it runs on a non-surf. That might be that's interesting. I wouldn't really know why. Well, maybe I know why. Because Tails forces everything to do through Tor. A non-surf might not. It might allow bypassing. I would not. I wouldn't trust a non-surf pretty much at all. Hunix is probably your best option. You might not want to play that. Seems copyrighted. That's true. Damn! What if I play for 2 seconds and say it sucks, and then another 2 seconds and then say it sucks? Is that bypass it? Is that how we get past Oh, nice. Hunix is... I thought this was down the other day. Damn. No new forums. Wait, is this query? Is that still running? And the reason I wouldn't really trust like a non-surf is for the simple fact that Hunix exists and it does a really good job. It does a really good job at what it's supposed to. Force your traffic over Tor, like Tails, and ensure that it doesn't do anything that isn't encrypted. I love when people argue on the internet. It's kind of funny. How does Hunix do what it does? No. Still not good. How does Hunix do what it does? That's a good question. We'll check on the documentation via Tor, and Hunix. I think it's the way it does its policies is it drops non-Tor non-connections that are routing through Tor. You can. This is kind of what Tails does. Like it knows, like, hey, I'm not doing this through Tor. So Hunix even, I believe, routes all of the applications that's in the machine through the Hunix gateway, if I remember correctly. So it's routing everything through Tor no matter what. Why is Edward Snowden always used? I just hate it. Isn't there a workstation and gateway VM? Yeah. So it's two separate machines. Even with CubesOS, you can actually have other cubes use the Hunix gateway. That's how I always updated DOM0. DOM0 is never connected to the internet unless it's being updated. When DOM0 is updating it, it's enforced to use the Hunix gateway. That's how I do all my updates. That's just for a privacy perspective. Damn. Guess we're doing it this way. The fuck? Oh, nice. It has an option for AppArmor. In Kick Secure, baby. Anonymous money. Bitcoin is mentioned, unfortunately, a lie. Oh, here we go. Surfing, posting, blogging, geo-blocking. Combining tunnels with Tor, but I believe they go over based on Tor, based on vert cubes. The Tor browser is included for internet browsing and is actively maintained browser recommended for Tor. Anonymous file sharing, web server administration. With Apache, NGX, IRC servers, and more Onion services. It's Torification of applications which are not capable of proxying Tor support by themselves. Further, the user is not jeopardized by installing custom applications or it. The detailed document has been produced right here. Nope. When software packages from Debian, Unix, Fedora, Cubes are downloaded prior to the installation of a new package, the user cannot be uniquely protocol, which is not ideal for security. Experimental Tor services can be configured for a number of platforms which provide several security privacy benefits. I know that they Torify everything, kind of, which is pretty based. Advanced de-anonymization tags. Just a lot of information. I would recommend people just pretty much check out their documentation. VPNs don't make you anonymous. VPN providers know what you're doing. Security experts have very low opinion of VPNs. VPNs can hide basic IP hiding. We don't talk but VPNs are entirely based on trust. That's true. VPN software is not designed for anonymity. I think Mulvad's probably the best, and maybe IVPN. They kind of got like the best perspective. I think they're definitely overused. They're definitely over recommended, but I think they have their place. What about Mulvad based? Mulvad based VPN. I think they're just, again, like over. Damn, this motherfucker's still fucking failing. Huh. I'm gonna have to really dig deep on that one. Multi-base. But I will be, hopefully tomorrow, I should be releasing a video either in the morning or the afternoon. In general. And some other things. Going to do a longer stream tomorrow. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Very based on installing CubesOS, Billy. Appreciate it. You joining the based side as it is. Code. Yeah, fuck VirtualBox. Based. And thank you for also joining. Thank you for everyone else joining. See you later. I got some more things in editing to do. Don't forget to comment your favorite type of candy in the comment section so YouTube knows that I'm a real person and I enjoy all of the things. Walk your snail. Don't forget to, if you don't, 500 years of bad luck.